Michael Jackson, inspiration behind the Dangerous album. Full story. In the late 1980s, Michael Jackson was already the most famous entertainer in the world. Thriller had shattered records, Bad had proven he wasn't a one-time phenomenon, and the pressure on him was unlike anything any artist had ever faced. He was more than a musician now, he was a symbol, an icon, and in many ways, a prisoner of his own success. But by 1989, Michael felt something stirring inside of him, a need to reinvent, to create something new that reflected not just his fame, but his worldview, his frustrations, and his endless artistic hunger. That need would give birth to Dangerous. The transition. Michael's earlier albums had been shaped by Quincy Jones' sleek, polished production. Quincy had helped craft the sound that made Michael a superstar, but by the end of the Bad era, Michael was yearning for change. He wanted to experiment with harder beats, with a grittier sound, and with themes that went beyond love songs and pop melodies. He was listening to New Jack Swing, a style pioneered by Teddy Riley, fusing R&B, funk, and hip-hop rhythms. Michael saw in that sound the future of pop. This decision was more than just about music, it was about identity. Michael wanted to show that he wasn't stuck in the past, that he could evolve with the times. He wanted Dangerous to represent not just an album, but a statement. Michael Jackson could adapt, innovate, and lead in a new decade. The inspirations behind the songs. Each track on Dangerous carried with it a story, an inspiration, and a piece of Michael's heart. Jam was Michael's message about the chaos of the modern world, about the violence and division he saw growing. He was inspired by the struggles of inner-city youth and wanted to use music to bridge gaps. That's why the song thunders with hard beats and calls for unity. Why You Wanna Trip on Me was born out of Michael's frustration with the media. By the late 80s and early 90s, the tabloids were relentless, questioning everything about him, his appearance, his choices, even his humanity. Michael's response wasn't an angry outburst, but a powerful track reminding people there were far more serious issues in the world than his personal life. In the Closet explored desire, secrecy, and passion. Michael, always careful about his personal image, pushed boundaries here, working with mystery and intimacy in a way he rarely had before. Remember the Time was inspired by Michael's love for history and mythology. He envisioned ancient Egypt, royalty, and romance, a celebration of Black culture and timeless love. Heal the World, and Will You Be There, came from his humanitarian spirit. By this time, Michael had been deeply involved in charity, traveling the globe, seeing suffering, poverty, and war firsthand. These songs became anthems of hope, born out of Michael's pain at seeing injustice and his deep belief that music could heal. Black or White was perhaps the boldest statement of all. In a world still divided by race, Michael wanted to make a song that shattered barriers, one that shouted to the world, "We are all one." He combined rock guitars, hip-hop rhythms, and a global message, making it one of the most powerful pop anthems of the decade. The title track, Dangerous, itself, with its haunting beats and seductive lyrics, showed Michael's fascination with mystery, risk, and the darker side of love and fame. The artistic vision. Michael didn't just think about music. He thought about the entire experience. For Dangerous, he commissioned artist Mark Ryden to paint the now legendary album cover. A surreal, intricate masterpiece filled with hidden meanings, animals, masks, gates, and symbols of fame, innocence, and curiosity. It wasn't just an album cover, it was a window into Michael's mind, magical, mysterious, and layered with meaning. Michael wanted Dangerous to be more than songs. He wanted it to be a journey. He envisioned short films for the tracks, not just music videos, but cinematic experiences. Remember the Time became a stunning Egyptian epic starring Eddie Murphy and Iman. Black or White turned into a global statement with a controversial dance sequence. Jam brought together Michael and Michael Jordan, a fusion of music and sport. Each film was Michael saying, "I don't just make music, I create worlds." The struggles behind the scenes. But inspiration doesn't come without struggle. Creating Dangerous was exhausting for Michael. He worked late into the nights, obsessing over sounds, pushing producers to their limits. He clashed with executives who didn't understand his vision. He dealt with endless media attacks, rumors, and doubts about his future. Yet through it all, he poured every ounce of his energy into the music. Michael's desire for perfection drove him. If a drumbeat wasn't right, they would redo it 100 times. If a vocal didn't carry the emotion, he would sing until it broke his voice. Michael believed music was sacred, and he treated it with that level of devotion. The legacy of Dangerous. When the album was finally released in November 1991, it changed everything. It sold millions worldwide, spawning hits across the charts. But more importantly, it proved that Michael Jackson could step into a new decade and still lead, still inspire, still dominate the cultural conversation. Dangerous wasn't just an album, it was Michael's manifesto. It was his way of saying, I am not just the king of pop. I am an artist, a visionary, a man with something to say. And decades later, its impact still resonates. From its socially conscious lyrics to its groundbreaking sound, Dangerous remains a testament to Michael Jackson's genius and his endless hunger to inspire.